Hello and welcome to another Conversation to Transform Birth. I'm Sheila Kamara Hay of Ecstatic Birth, and I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today who recently had an ecstatic birth just a few months ago. And, we all have this idea that in order to experience pleasure or ecstasy in birth, every last detail has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect. It's like one of those things where if the stars align, we can have an ecstatic birth. And it's simply not true. Her story is really, really inspiring because everything did not align perfectly. And I'll have her share with you why, but she was able to have an ecstatic birth. And a lot of that has to do with the time she took to really prepare her body, prepare her mind, prepare her soul, and also her commitment to what she was creating in terms of having structures of support around her and really showing up in the ways that would support her to have the highest experience possible. So I'm very excited to introduce you today to Anysa. Hi, Anysa.
Hi there, Sheila.
So you gave birth during COVID, which right there, like that's not ideal. That's not perfect. That's stressful. This was back in July. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
July.
So,
Mhm.
in July, we're just coming out of it, but we're still really like in the heart of it, especially you're in California.
Mhm.
So there was that layer of stress. And there were some other things that happened, which we'll touch on in just a minute. But first, I want you to just go right to the heart of it and tell us about your birth. How did it feel? What was your experience like? Share with us all the juicy details.
Yeah, so birth was amazing. It was such a joyful experience. Like going into it, I had so many. The only way I can describe it is like traversing valleys and mountains, but like picking flowers along the way and really enjoying the view and just being in the grass and feeling your feet into the earth. I started my like birth experience like just kind of naturally, kind of moving into my rushes, and I kind of was in early labor for about 48 hours. And then my full labor was about 8 hours. And I was, accompanied by my best friend, my younger sister, Celeste. And it was so juicy. It was like I was meditating and I was meditative and I was really in my body. I was tethered to this earth plane. I was, in early parts of my active labor, I pleasured myself. That was something that I felt was really important to like make love to myself and surround myself with things that brought me pleasure and joy, even just aesthetically, like candles and crystals and things like that. It was a very like hippie birth, but it was so juicy. And I laughed. I danced, I took a shower, I was naked, I was a woman, I was in my body, I could feel my baby moving inside my body. I did get to a point where I got stuck at 9 centimeters for 3 hours. And there was, a challenge there. It was really like, there were moments that I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. And did I make the wrong choice to give birth at home? But I had such a beautiful support system. I had 3 beautiful women, my younger sister, and then 2 midwives present. I was really fortunate to have a midwife who also attended 2 of my sister's births. So she was kind of like family. I felt like I was really in a space of being supported and rooted in what it was that I wanted to achieve, and people who were open to me having an ecstatic birth, because that was something that I set out as an intention. And I wanted to make sure that the people who were present were going to support an ecstatic experience for me. And so the kind of climax of my birth experience was pushing my baby's head out and feeling her come out. And in moments of relaxation, like in between, kind of knowing that my body was going to be opening and then resting. In those resting periods, I remember looking up at my sister and my midwives and saying, oh my gosh, guys, my clitoris feels so amazing. It's just I'm literally having the experience I wanted to have. I felt so pleasure filled and so juicy and sexy and full of life and full of this like source like energy. Like they say, the energy that brings the baby in is the energy that helps the baby come out. And that was so much a part of my birth experience. And yeah, it was joy, it was laughter, it was tears, it was everything it is to be a woman and a human, to be feminine and really connect to that divine feminine energy.
What a beautiful way to welcome your baby into the world. So
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
And all these things that you're talking about, the different ways you brought pleasure in, how are you inspired to do that? How are you inspired to incorporate these things into your birth?
So I was kind of searching. Had been reading Ema Gaskin's book Guide to Childbirth, and I had like kind of found her section on orgasm birth, and I started kind of scouring the internet because I felt like, okay, that's something like that would be really interesting to experience. And, why not shoot for the stars? Like, shoot for the stars and land on the moon. Why not? Right. And I started scouring and I ended up finding this instructional video that you had created on kind of creating a mother's journey through birth. And one of the things that you had mentioned was like, fill yourself with pleasure, like, put the things around you that you enjoy, like, and that way you can see things that are beautiful, smell things that make you feel good, and um, just feel supported with the people who are going to support you and love you through that process, right? Because that's really what the job of someone is who's attending your birth, is to love you and
Yes.
to make you feel in that space and heart of love. And I feel like I had that. I was really very fortunate
Yeah.
considering the situation that I ended up going through, but that led to my leading up to my birth, that I was surrounded with that essence of love, that energy, which really enabled me to be able to reach that state of kind of those delta wavelengths, those sense, like really juicy, sexual, beautiful feelings, like that magical essence of life, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about the weeks, you know, leading up to your birth. So you're, like you're preparing for this birth, you're leaning into different programs and different body practices. You have something in mind. And then what happened that kind of like threw you for a loop?
So at 35 weeks pregnant, I discovered that my partner of 10 years had been having a 3-month affair. It was an emotional affair, and he was kind of in this space of really just being asleep, not awake. And leading up to getting pregnant and preparing my body for birth and all these things, I've practiced yoga for a very long time, since I was a teenager. And I had consciously gone into the conscious state of mind of conceiving my daughter. And I really felt that we were kind of on the same wavelength, but it turns out we were on completely different levels. And so really the rug was pulled out from under me when COVID hit.
Yeah.
But then the tower literally turned upside down when 35 weeks pregnant. I'm like, my baby could come at 38 weeks. Like 3 weeks into that day, I find out that my husband is having an affair, which was heartbreaking, devastating, really, to be in such a long partnership and to have built so much with someone that you really felt you love so much as a woman, that you
Yeah.
just want to be so enveloped in them, to find that they've been so unfaithful and so deceitful. Like the layers were just really, it was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
uh, and it was really painful to have to go through my daughter experiencing, like, moving so much from all my cortisol levels, which was really, really upsetting to me, because I had worked so hard to create a space in my body where she could thrive and grow and have this beautiful existence kind of like inside of my womb. To feel that that was completely disrupted, to feel that my body had been unknowingly violated because my husband had been with somebody else physically. It was this unknown violation. So I felt violated on every front. So I really tried to turn to the practices that I understand, the practices that I know. And thankfully, I had discovered the ecstatic birth training sessions before that. And my daughter was breech. So she was breech for about maybe a month or two leading up to the birth. And I am very natural, so I tried everything. I crawled around the house. I did inversions because I'm a yogi. I would do headstands. I would have my sister assist me there with my big belly. I did spinning babies. I did moxibustion. I went to a friend who's an acupuncturist. I was like, I need to turn this baby because I really want to have a natural birth at home. That's really how I wanted to bring her into the world. And I had to make the decision to have a procedure called an external cephalic version. And it was kind of scary going to the hospital during COVID, you know,
Yeah.
wearing a mask, being pregnant, being like, okay, I'm going into this space where like it's close. There's people who are sick. I mean, they had women, the birthing ward very far away from where the COVID patients are, but it was still such a nerve-wracking experience in such an unprecedented time. So we go to the hospital, we're there, my sister and I bring a robe. We brought like a silk robe I have that makes me feel great. I brought some crystals. She brought some essential oils to help me kind of relax. They monitored me for probably about 2 hours. And for those of you who don't know, an external cephalic version is essentially where doctors take their hands and they manually move your baby into the optimal position for birth. So I really relied a lot on what is her name? Elena Tonetti Vladmirova. There's a session where she talks about even if you're going to have a C-section, like you can still have an ecstatic experience. You can still, if things don't really go your way, it's really you who's in control of the situation. Like, yes, you're not in control of the outcome, but you can control how you move through it. And so I thought, okay, well, external cephalic version sounds really scary and very creepy. So I renamed it an ecstatic celestial version.
I love that.
Because I was like, this is a celestial experience. Like I have this little beautiful child, little soul inside of me. Why not? Like let it align, let her body align with the stars, like make it celestial, make it magical. And
Beautiful.
so I really just kind of relied on my yoga training. I went into a state of meditation. They gave me a drug that was supposed to make my heart rate go up really quickly. And they told me, you know, it's going to make your body shake kind of uncontrollably. Well, I thought, no, I can tell my body how to receive this information, how to receive this medicine to help me enable my child to get to where she needs to go. So I started meditating, and the doctor comes in 15 minutes later. She goes, "You're not shaking at all." And I go, "I know." I was like, "But my heart rate's up. The medicine's working. It's time to do the procedure." And she looks at my heart rate. She goes, "Huh, interesting." I was like, "Yeah, meditation. It's really amazing. Breath work." So they attempted twice, and the baby had a very difficult time moving. And I kind of ended up having this out of body experience where it was like I was in my body, but I was above my body, and I could see everything that was going on, and I could feel everything that was going on, but I was somehow slightly removed from it. And I just remember at the moment that I thought, I don't know that I can take any more of this pain. I allowed myself, I said, just surrender, just let go and let what needs to happen happen. And the moment that I just did nothing was the moment that I felt my baby's body turn
Wow.
into the optimal position. And at that moment, I felt this beautiful rush of just this warm energy just melt over my entire body. And I just remember having these really juicy, salty tears kind of coming down my, you know, my cheeks, because it was such an emotional experience, you know. And I felt like everything that I was going through, you know, I didn't have my partner of 10 years by my side for something that they had to have a backup operating room available in case they accidentally detached my placenta and had to knock me out and cut my baby out of my body. But I had, you know, my best friend, my sister there with me. And I had the support I needed. I had all of my family thinking of me and sending me love. And I just surrendered to what was supposed to happen.
Such an inspiring story on so many different levels. You know, just to go back to, I'm so grateful to you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and share what was clearly like a very traumatic event prior to your baby's birth. And the reason I kind of want to highlight it for anybody that's watching this is because, you know, one of the things that really will disrupt a birth process is the sensation of fear, right? Like, and a lot of times that's fear of the unknown. So this was your first birth. So that was definitely at play on some level. There was like a fear of the unknown. And then there's also like fears that project out beyond the birth, right? So fears around motherhood, fears around like, you know, financial support, fears around, so losing your partner is like, you lost your emotional support, but you also lost a lot of like the projection into the future that you had. And so that's no small thing. I mean, that is huge. So I'm curious about, you know, you said you could feel like the cortisol in your body and the experience that you had turning your baby also. Like with both of these, how were you able to stabilize your body, I guess is what I'm asking. We've all dealt with loss in different ways in our lives, and we know that like your body literally reels, right? Like there's that emotional charge that goes through. There's a lot of there's a lot of like constriction and contraction. So what I'm really curious about is how are you able to soothe your body enough through both of these experiences that you just described, so that it was able to surrender and open and relax into the vision that you were holding for your birth.
Yeah. Honestly, breath,
Breath.
breathing,
Yeah.
like, because breath is, in the yogic practice, pranayama is
Yeah.
this energy. It's the life force that lives within everything.
Yeah.
So, when we are under stress, when we're in these situations that are incredibly tense, our cortisol levels go up, and you will notice your breathing becomes shallow, where it becomes like kind of like almost like you're trying to move through something. Like there's a fear response, and I know the fear response was the biggest thing for me. I mean, even at my birth, I did not feel comfortable having my soon to be ex-husband in the room while I was pushing my daughter out. I did have him in the room when she took her first breaths, but I could not be so vulnerable in front of somebody that I felt like was like my perpetrator in a
Yeah.
way, and had violated me. So in those experiences, I learned to slow down. I learned to allow myself, like Eckhart Tolle, the power of now, like be in this moment, be here and now. And if I slow down and I look at, the desk that I'm sitting at, the grain of the wood and the type, the aluminum of my laptop, or the flowers on my desk, or the amethyst crystal, I can focus on something and really slow everything down to where everything is just, I'm okay right where I am. It's kind of looking at different focal points and slowly guiding yourself to a place where you can tether yourself to something in this moment and feel it's grounding to be grounded. And I am not perfect. I am so human. And there are moments when I've been completely out of control and feeling like, the hurricane is moving around me, but there's some kind of peace inside of me, but I'm still like spouting anger or cursing and angry or whatever. But those are all things that you should allow yourself to feel. I think one of the most profound things that my midwife said to me at 35 weeks pregnant, I literally found out, and I had an appointment with my midwife, and I told her everything. And I had to get a vaginal culture done to make sure that I didn't have any STDs to have a home birth, which was also incredibly traumatizing. And she said to me, she said, women give birth in the worst of experiences. We give birth in wars. We give birth in refugee camps. We give birth in pandemics. We give birth in the situation that you have just been presented with. And I was so devastated. I said, my baby is experiencing all of these awful emotions, all of these things that I'm feeling. And she said, but you are teaching your daughter or your child how to manage this situation already inside of you. She is learning how to handle challenge and what a mother does or what you're going to do in that situation. So I felt that in that moment, she made me realize like, oh, I was in control. I am a mother. I am a parent. And I'm already teaching my baby how to navigate an unexpected devastation.
Yeah.
I felt
Amazing.
so powerful.
Amazing. That is so inspiring. And what a gift to have such a woman at your side. And I know you had a lot of beautiful women at your side, right? You were telling me that your mother gave birth to you naturally and your sister. So you had that, you had that in your body to a certain extent as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I was really afraid because I had this idea that, I was going to give birth, and I was the last daughter to give birth to a baby in my family. And I had this beautiful idea that I was going to have my mother and my older sister and my younger sister, and then my partner and my midwives all around me while I was giving birth. And because of COVID, I couldn't have my older sister. I couldn't have my mother. And then because of the decisions that, my partner made, I felt that I just could not have him there with me.
Mhm.
Was outside the house, but I just couldn't have him there with me. And, I was very fortunate that I was able to pull in the resources that I needed to be able to safeguard. I found people who would safeguard what my intention and what my wishes were for my birth,
Yeah.
which was really important. And that's another thing, is be vocal about what you want. Share it with the people that you love. And if someone isn't supportive of what it is that you need, don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry, but this is a really important thing to me. And I really want to bring my child into the world this way, in whatever way it is that you intend to. And build your support system. Don't be afraid to be like, no, I don't think that person's right for my experience.
Yeah, no, I really hear that in your story, how much you stood for yourself, how much you stood for the experience that you wanted, and how fierce you are, both from your preparation, and also how you took care of yourself emotionally and made sure you had people around you that could really hold that. These are all really, really important factors. And despite COVID, despite your partnership falling apart, at 35 weeks, you were able to have an amazing experience giving birth for the first time, which is no small thing, really. It's very, very inspiring to hear your story. I'm so grateful to you for sharing it. And so you mentioned that you've had a yoga practice for a long time. You're a practitioner. You've been training in breath work. So these were all practices that really supported you physically once you entered the birthing room. What did the ecstatic birth training sessions bring for you for your birth?
A level of consciousness about really sharing in this really sacred knowledge of what it is to give birth, and what it is to carry source energy, and to really allow source to pass through your body, and how to surrender to it. I loved, like, just all of the stories, the women, the knowledge. I mean, I could go back and listen to everything all over again, because I feel that I could reapply everything I learned in what I was listening to, because there's just so much there. There's so much there. I really loved the one on Hari Kar Kalso, where she talks about the moon cycles. I was really intrigued by that. And that's something that I want to take the time to really, I mean, I didn't even get to delve into that before I gave birth, but I really felt that, like, Dr. Christine Northrup's discussion, all of these discussions, and also the one that talks about the wavelengths in the brain. I can't remember who did
Very
that one.
Western.
But really understanding how I could access that, or what I could do in my own way, taking that knowledge and applying it to the foundation that I already had, that was something that I felt that I knew almost like the back of my hand, that I could apply that level of consciousness to, and take those tiny little pieces that really stood out to me, the gems, and apply them to how I was going to be consciously moving through that experience. Really, really helped me. Also, reading birth stories. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky that women in my family have given birth naturally at home. And if you don't have people who are a part of that community, seek it out. Don't be afraid to try to find it. I mean, if you need to talk to someone, reach out to me. Find me on Facebook, because there's a community of women and people who believe in having a beautiful experience, an ecstatic experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to orgasm. you
Yeah.
know it could be an experience of ecstasy, where your body just feels so good, like melted butter and chocolate. That's the only way I can describe how I felt when I was pushing my baby out. So seek it out. And, I really felt that I was guided to find the ecstatic birth training sessions, and having that level of knowledge, just even listening to all of it once, and then going back and listening to the ones that really felt resonated with me, gave me things to pull from in the moments where I felt that I was out of control, or I was consciously prepared for the experience. I think that's really what it helped me do, is to consciously prepare to walk the path of birth.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm so happy hearing you say that, because what I was envisioning when I created that was it would almost be like, we're immersed in this culture that doesn't really hold that vision for us. We're immersed in language and stories and ideas and systems that are actually quite contrary to an ecstatic birth. And so I almost saw it as like initiation to
Absolutely.
that vast wealth of like women's wisdom that has been hidden from us for so long. So I'm so happy that you received it that way, especially knowing that you already had such a deep embodiment practice. You had such a deep spiritual practice that you were still able to take that in on a level that really supported you and expanded your consciousness and brought that into your birth.
I think
Yeah.
it became a part of my universe, right? My personal universe. All
Yeah.
of these things that are in my vortex are like surrounding me. I know that sounds kind of hippie-ish, but
Makes me so happy.
it's there. It's like it's once it's there and it's a part of this knowledge that's become like in yoga, they believe that everything you learn is something you already know. You're just relearning it again in this life, right? And so I felt like all of this knowledge from these ancestors and women who have for thousands of years given birth, why in our society are so many women having C-sections? Why are so many of them having episiotomies where they're cutting them? Like because of the breath work that I did with my first birth, my daughter was 7 pounds. I did not tear.
Amazing.
Which was
Amazing.
amazing. I felt like such a badass, pardon me, but I felt so,
Badass.
so freaking good. I was like, yes, bad mama jamma. Like I did it. Like I did it. And my baby and my body were in love with each other. And I just allowed her to come. I just let my body do what it knew how to do. Right. Because I think that's what our society has made us believe is that we don't know our bodies, is that we're not in control, is that we don't understand the power that truly resides within our hips, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are wars that have been ended because of the power between our hips.
Mm-hmm.
So why the hell would we allow people to make us afraid of the most powerful experience that we could have as women,
Yeah.
bringing babies into the world?
Uh,
Why? And also, like, if you're a woman who is healthy and you are healthy and you don't have any complications, there is no reason why you have to have a birth that is full of fear. If you're a woman who is not well or needs assistance, there's no reason why you can't have the birth and an experience that makes you feel in touch with your baby, in love with your life, in love with your partner or the people who are around and supporting you. There's no reason why. It doesn't matter. You just approach it. You're the one who is like the weaver of that experience.
what's amazing watching you and feeling like the force of your passion and your desire to support others and to bring this knowledge forward is you can really see everyone that's watching. You can really see in Anysa, there's something that has been activated within her by having this experience. So I'm curious. I know you have plans for the future, but I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about like what has been activated and what do you hope to create going forward?
So this is kind of funky and crazy, but before I found out about my partner's unfaithfulness, I actually was sitting around a fire having a socially distanced gathering with my sister and her partner. And I said to them, I feel a transformation coming my way. And it's not my birth. I don't know what it is, but I do know that whatever I do is going to empower women who feel that they don't have a voice, and my story or whatever is going to happen to me is somehow going to be really powerful, and it's going to just give other people the sensation that they have the strength to take whatever comes their way and do whatever they want to do, right? So yeah, I definitely feel as kind of magic activation in my body. I definitely feel just a desire to reach out to women and love them, to make them feel loved. We're all a part of each other, right? We are just we're from the same. We're one in the same light. We're all parts or fragments of the same star, right? So. I'm actually working on a couple different things and they're coming soon. I actually becoming a single mother now. I'm interested in interviewing single moms. So I'm actually going to start a podcast and interview other women and share experiences because we have so much to learn from mothers, you know, that matriarchal figure. And 25% of households in the United States are run by a single mother. So why would we not want to learn from the leaders of a quarter of our households?
Yeah.
Um, I also am looking at starting to write a book about my experience and also my journey of learning how to co-parent with my co-parent now, who is, my daughter's father, and how to do that from a place that is not logical, how to take the mind and move it into the heart and move in that space of motherhood and walk that path and really just forge it and take it a step further, and how I can take what I've learned through birth and apply it in
Mm.
that experience, because now I have to nurture an entirely new foundation for my daughter and a life that I didn't imagine for her. But I do trust that that's going to be magical and just even so much more expansive. Um,
Mhm.
so I do feel this really intense fire that's been activated inside of me. And I can't wait to go back and re-listen to the ecstatic birth training sessions, because there's so much knowledge there. I mean, if there's one thing that resonates, like, share it with another woman, share it with a man, for goodness sakes. Like, because if we don't share that knowledge, then how are we all to have reverence for this amazing energy that exists inside every femme?
So I want to highlight that Anysa is 3 months postpartum, and look at the level of energy she has in her body. Look at the level of passion. For a woman who's just had birth, even with her partner, that's very, very rare. And I want to highlight this because a lot of times there's this idea, oh, like an ecstatic birth is so selfish. Like, why are you worried about like the pleasure that you experience in your birth? And it's not about that. It's really about when you're able to give birth in this really whole, connected, pleasure-filled way, it fuels everything. I mean, you can see Anysa's generosity like spilling over, like her desire to help, to support, to take other people higher. It's spilling over. I don't know a lot of new moms 3 months postpartum after a really difficult breakup that could really tap into that energy in the same way. So I really want your example, Anysa, to inspire others that no, having an ecstatic birth is not about the selfishness of like a physical experience or experience you want to have in that moment, but actually it's the most generous thing that you can do for your baby and for humanity, to be able to have an experience where you come out of it feeling so intact and so activated and so inspired that all of a sudden all of your gifts are like flying to you, and you just want to share them, and you want to share that with the world and take other people higher. So thank you so much. I am so grateful to you for sharing your story, for coming here with so much like love and passion, for being vulnerable, for guiding us through the highs, the lows, and all of it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you to you.
Is there
I
anything that you wanted to share that you didn't get to?
No, I mean, I think it's just try to move from that space of love, and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I know the best laid plans now are laid waste.
Yeah.
But, if you rely on love, it will see you through. And, really connect with those people who truly support and love you and really make you feel held, and also allow yourself to be held. Being a new mother, allow yourself to receive. I can't tell you how beautiful and also like humbling it's been to really feel like the love of everyone else through this experience come back to me. And to realize that that's the light that you're shining out into the world, and then to be in a space where you are willing to receive it, it's such a beautiful reciprocation. And so, allow yourself to be full, allow yourself to be empty, and let it be a cycle. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Anysa, if it's okay with you, I will tag you in this post. So if anybody wants to reach out to you or, talk to you about anything that you shared, that they can do that. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I will also share the link to the ecstatic birth training sessions, which Anysa talked about in this video, so that any of you that are inspired to check it out can do that as well. So lots of love. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much again, Anysa, for coming and sharing your story. Such a gift.
Thank you.